Oh, yeah, that's
Uh,
better.
Okay.
yeah, you're good now.
So yeah, I'm just wondering if there's like any in any of these like democratic socialist countries, if there's like a specific example of big corporate having like a main influence, so I could like research into it. Because as far as I know, like with Sweden specifically, like we were talking about, there really was no like evidence of them having um, any sort of decision making power in the Riksdag or even like the local governments.
Well, I will say that lobbying in Sweden is actually very much unregulated.
Okay, hold on. Let me
And to the point where there's actually like literally like lobbyists don't even have to register with the government. There's no lobbying registry or
look
anything.
into this real
Like it's
quick.
like pretty much unaccountable.
Swedish lobbying regulation rules. Sweden does not have a specific
I'm
comprehensive
trying
law regulating lobbying activities, and there is no mandatory register for lobbyists or public reporting of contacts between interest representatives and public officials. Let me look into the European Parliament. I mean, it looks like there's no specific rules or provisions for any of the member states. It's saying that Bundestag is the only chamber that has like specific rules set to annex the procedure.
to.
So, I mean, if this is like if this is a thing with like all members of the nations, then just wondering like, what would be the issue with this? If it's something like so regular within the European Parliament, I don't think this would be like a. I don't think the regulation is a necessity if the system works. For example, like I understand that they're very lenient on what they allow for lobbying. However, even with that, there's like no evidence of corporate influence.
I mean, one thing I will say is that they allow capitalist metrics to dictate the direction of their economy.
Which metrics?
Stock market.
And GDP.
Stock market. You guys have issues with stock market and the
Yes.
the notion of a gross domestic
Yes.
product. Okay, why so?
So the stock market is an example of fictitious capital. It is the idea behind it is that it doesn't actually mean anything or generate any value. It's just a way of like holding on to money and receiving profits from stuff you haven't done. And it's very volatile to speculation and just like general how confident people are in the economy or whatever. And it's just like it's stupid and it's not a good objective metric of how well an economy is doing. It's primarily a capitalist metric because only in capitalist states do you have this kind of mass speculation and stuff. And that's why in China, even though they have a stock market, it's heavily suppressed and there's constant crackdowns on it because they don't want to allow the stock market to gain uh, unjust control over the direction of the economy.
Okay, well, if we're using Marx's definition of a fictitious capital, which I'm assuming you guys are, since you're like Marxist Leninists, wouldn't China's stock market still be like a fictitious capital because there's like a prediction of the future of real finance assets being taken place in this situation? Like, wouldn't it still be a fictitious capital?
Yes, it absolutely is still fictitious capital, but the difference is that China actively suppresses, or the Chinese government actively suppresses the stock market. I'm not saying that, of course, in China there's private capital ownership. I mean, that much is obvious. There's corporations in China, right? Maybe we can, of course, agree on that.
But
And so
I don't
they
think
still
that like
allow
heavy regulation of a
ownership.
capitalistic ideology is just it's not going to negate the notion of capitalism. It's just going to add more strict rules to it.
Well, so I would disagree with you on that. I think the primary stage of socialism is primary public ownership and secondary private ownership. And what that means is that the state significantly and heavy handedly suppresses or suppresses private ownership and private ownership of capital in particular.
Okay. Well, maybe not in China due to like heavy regulation, but like we can look to like other examples of stock, like for example here in the U.S. we can look to stock market, like uh, you know, cut me off if I'm wrong, but Marxist fictitious capital is basically just going to be anything that's like a claim on future wealth, and there's like no physical production being invested in here. However, when it comes to like the United States, we can look at the attribution of a right to dividends and like capital gains as like a physical, like maybe not physical, but like an actualized asset that does not make it like a future expectation, because you're going to be guaranteed these things that are true and present. It's also like the mobilization of a capital. Like again, I'm not speaking for the world here. I'm specifically speaking about America because it's what I know the most, obviously. But we can, in for the American stock market, when our economy's good, we can guarantee that stock market investment money is going to be used for like real production.
So you did. Dude, I'm gonna be honest. It's like 2 a.m. What did you say again? I'm on the East Coast, so
I was just saying that if we're going off of Marx's definition, like we agreed upon, a fictitious capital is going to
Yeah.
be like a claim on future wealth that's like not invested in a physical production. But again, specifically in America, because I understand that stock markets are going to be different country by country. But when we look specifically to America, which is going to be like a capitalist nation, not true capitalism, obviously, stocks are going to allow you the right to like dividends and capital gains, which is going to be like an actualized asset and or profit. So it's not going to be like a future investment. And then we can look at the mobilization of this capital through like real production, research, and expansion. Like the investment of the investment into the stock is going to guarantee this for that company.
well, I mean, of course, buying stock gives money to a company. I mean, that's how stocks work.
Well, of course, yes, but I'm just saying that it's not going to be like it's not going to be like this future gain because it's actively being used. Maybe future, if you're going to say future gain on the end of the investor, well then there's going
Yeah.
to be like the guarantee of dividends and capital gains if the company grows. It's like there's going to be like
Well, that's not the case with all stocks. That's I believe that dividends are a thing for only the minority of stocks. I'm only aware of particular large corporations really offering
um
dividends.
so dividends are going to be like a share of the profit depending on the corporation,
Well,
depending on
yeah,
the
I know
level
what
of
dividends are.
depending on the level of stocks that you invest, you're going to get like voting and shareholder meetings. But universally, capital gains is going to be a guarantee, whether it's like a small corporate thing or whether you invest in the Vanguard stock.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean,
And that's what
capital gains isn't
I'm trying to say.
gain in value through capital, right?
Yeah, capital gains is going to be like it's not going to be like a speculatory thing because we know it to be like a true thing if the company grows. Therefore, it
Well,
wouldn't
it's still speculation if the company grows.
Yeah, but it's like an investment risk. So it wouldn't necessarily fall under the claim on future wealth because there's not a guarantee to the wealth.
I don't think I'm in a mental state to do this right now. I'm gonna be
Oh,
honest.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna transfer ownership to you.
Sure. I wanted to talk about
Alright, well then,
the other
Yeah.
thing
I'm likely just
the
going
other
to log
thing that you
out
mentioned,
then.
which
I'll
is
see you guys later.